So, Dad, how come there are two kinds of food then?
Well, there shouldn't be two kinds of food. I mean, you go to the grocery store, you're being sold two kinds of food. You're being sold labels based on fear. But really, do you think the organic food is somehow different for you than other food that's grown? I mean, it just comes down to knowledge and understanding and a lot of fear-based propaganda.
Okay, but Dad, the organic movement is about having an alternative to like industrialized agriculture, food for profit, right?
Industrialized agriculture.
Yeah.
Really? Nick, when's the last time you were on a farm? Like a farm of size, anything that produces...
Okay. Hi, my name is Nick Syke, and lately, I've had some questions surrounding what's true about our food. My dad's a baby boomer who grew up on a farm, and he's worked in agriculture all of his life. Understanding each other isn't easy at the best of times, and when it comes to food, we need science as a common language if we're going to make any sense of the other's point of view, and that's the goal. Join me while I annoy this guy with my skepticism as we search for the answers to my questions about our food. Welcome to LEARN GMO. My dad is convinced that if we all knew more about farming, everyone would feel differently about it.
Well, the division of labor really is about people focusing in on what they're good at so other people can do the same. And agriculture has been the shining example today.
Okay, I know where he's going with this, and it'll take him 5 minutes to get it out. Thanks to technology, in 10,000 years, we've gone from 100% hunter-gatherers to 50% farmers, to the point where today, only 2% of North Americans grow all of the food, while the other 98% of us do whatever we do. But I've traveled through a lot of developing countries, and they're still closer to the 50-60% ratio North America was at in the 1800s. Most people here have hands-on experience as farmers. But here, me and my friends find healthy, sustainable food to be a high priority, but other than buying organic or a general suspicion about GMOs, almost none of us knows that much about our food or how it actually grows. Since 98% of us don't have any agricultural experience, it makes sense that we're concerned about what we don't know. That's my entire reason for doing this project. We'd like to know more about our food, and we try. But what's the truth? Everybody has a different opinion about this organic GMO thing. Tell me, what have you heard of GMO foods?
I've heard a lot about GMO foods. My opinion is a bit varied on it.
Okay.
It sounds very unnatural to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're just messing with natural processes.
You try to stick to organic, but the challenges of sitting around reading the labels and digging through it, that's the harder part.
Okay, those are opinions of people like you and me, but my dad and I agreed that we use validated science. So what do scientists think about this whole organic GMO debate?
It's hard to keep up. It's hard for me to keep up, and this is my area of expertise. So I think it's very difficult, and I think people read media. There's all kinds of things on the internet, things that say good things, things that say bad things, and people don't know what to believe.
Speaking on behalf of consumers, I think that the GMO thing is just like a little freaky for people. It strikes, why would you eat something so new and think it was safe?
New? What do you mean new? You think carrots are new?
Carrots are GMO?
Nick, you really need to read a book.
So it turns out, carrots used to be yellow, white, and purple too. Dutch farmers wanted to honor King William of Orange, and if my title was a color, I'd be into matching food too. Perfect. Neat story, Dad, but how is that GMO?
Well, if you're selecting for orange carrots, you're selecting by gene traits. It means that over time, you're actually selectively engineering the carrots to be orange.
I'd never thought of breeding as engineering. Time for some historical science. So I fell down the research rabbit hole to see if we've messed with other foods too, and it turns out nature isn't sadistic enough to create broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, or kale. That was all us, centuries ago. We started with wild cabbage and wound up with at least 4 equally unappetizing options, so bad example. But apples started tiny, wheat inedible, peaches were sour to begin with, watermelons were bitter. Basically, you name it, and apparently humans bred, or I guess engineered it by tweaking an existing plant to be better in some way. One of the best examples of this is our modern corn. According to a really well-researched book I read by Margaret Visser called Much Depends on Dinner, life is crazy dependent on corn. Like, say goodbye to pretty much everything in this supermarket if we didn't have it. It has that many uses. But North America's favorite crop wasn't always so useful. That apparently took some doing. Dr. Lameau again.
I mean, it started as this tiny little grain that's so hard that you have to break it with a hammer to get into it. to get the nutritious part of it.
And Dr. James Brubaker.
I have about 2,000 types of corn that I work with. They're in a freezer out here. Corn, of course, evolved in the tropics. And you go back 5,000 years and it looked like this.
This is very early corn.
Very, very early corns, every kernel,
Each kernel has its own husk.
and it's almost impossible to see them here.
It sort of looks more like wheat than corn.
Yeah, but if I cut through,
And as Dr. Brubaker shows us, getting to the good stuff is not very easy.
it's hiding in
My
there.
goodness.
Well, you'd find it hard to believe, but that's just one gene.
That does that.
There it is.
Wow. So when it comes to this plant we call corn, 20,000 years ago it looked like a grass called teosinte. 5,000 years ago it looked like this, and today it looks like this. Weirdest looking grass ever. Welcome to Learn GMO.